So I think I talked about it in the last video, but you guys should know that our Conquest runs a little too hot, but we got parts for it, so let me show you that. So this is what our current cooling setup looks like. It's not great. It's not the best. It's a small Speedway aluminum radiator, double pass radiator with a fan on it. Let me pull this out and kind of give you a better look at what it looks like. So this is all it is. It's just a 26-inch radiator with one 3000 CFM fan on it. This would be good for the track, but we're doing more than track. So let me unbox the new stuff and show you guys what that is. So we determined that the big problem was in the fans. The fan setup with 3000 CFM was probably not enough. So we got this Durali Performance 16842 part number. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that bad boy. Let's get that out of the bag. Oh yeah, this thing should be moving a whole lot more air than what that little guy over there was doing before. I like the way this is looking so far. So I brought these up to do like a side-by-side comparison, which you can see the size difference. It is substantially larger. That one's 26, this one is 31. So this thing is huge in comparison. But I also realized while we're looking at it, what do you see what's wrong there? Yep. Our tubes are on the wrong freaking side. So they said this is the Chevy version. Chevys go to the right. Mopars are on the left tank. If you go for like a cross like this, not a big deal. I already called Speedway. We're getting the right one sent out. So no big deal. But we can still kind of mock up and eye up what we're looking at here nonetheless. Let's throw the fans on actually. I'm going to put the fans in here just to show you how much more power we're talking about. So this kind of gives you a rough look at radiator size, fan power compared to what we did. It's a big upgrade. You can see this tube here hits this, but you can see on the old radiator, we actually cut and relocate this anyway. So this will be cut and relocated. So this won't contact at all once we move it to give it kind of a better angle. So this will be a non-issue, but you can kind of use your imagination, right? You can see the size and power difference when they're side by side. If this thing still runs hot, I don't know. I just built a bum car and I need to restart because that is significantly beefier. And the main complication is, as you can see when this thing's completely empty, is these little brackets here is what we kind of fabbed up to mount the radiator. Well, the issue is the radiator is so big that this frame rail chunk here, we're actually going to have to take this frame rail and cut this out to have enough space to squeeze this radiator in. So we're going to have to make some plates and reinforcement parts that go on the outside here to not only mount the radiator to out here, but the front bumper actually mounts here. This is where the front bumper mounts. So we're going to have to completely refab everything to get this thing on. So that's the next job, is to get the bumper mounted on. So it's been a while since we've recorded anything, but as you can see, the bumper is on without any of the factory mounting stuff on it. What we did is we did some race car stuff, made a slip tube, so this just slides on and off in this tube here, and you can see there's one on the other side too. So took a note out of our race car book, made a slip tube, welded a tube to the bumper here, and then also welded it to the car on the inside, which just needs to be painted, sanded, whatnot. Kind of burned through a little bit. And cut the brackets out of the middle so that it is no longer mounted in the factory mounting places. Now we can take these frame rails here and we can cut these frame rails out so we can make this whole space just a wide open area to fit the new big radiator in. So that's our next step. There we go. That's a frame rail. It is no longer on the freaking vehicle. How about that? And now we just got to do one more. And there you go. No more frame rails. If you take a step back and look, there's a lot more room for a radiator in there now, isn't there? So this is what it looks like with the radiator actually in the car now, and you can see we had to cut those frame rails out. It wasn't going in with those frame rails in there. It wasn't even going to be close, and it's still tight now. Even with those frame rails out, it's still pretty tight. So few things you noticed already. Got to cut this wall out here because this hose is going to go right in. Got to move our transmission cooler lines. And we did this on the last radiator too, but you can see our bottom hose is going into nowhere, which is fine. We can cut it off and lower it. If you look at the old radiator, that's exactly what we did. You can see we cut this one off and lowered it, but a lot more work to do. But it's in place. It's where it's got to be, so we know where to go from here. So that's good. Well, we didn't record any of this process, but as you can see, we had to do some more cutting to make room. This is where the bumper's upside down, so it looks weird. There used to be a lip here. Yeah, it had to go. It was hitting the radiator, and this used to be kind of like a box, like a corner. We had to cut that out a little bit to clearance the radiator. So this should slide on. The bumper should at least. We have to make a couple more cuts. Oh, we also did a cut to this piece. We had to cut up that sits on top over there as well. You can see there used to be a bracket here. Yeah, the bracket doesn't really do anything anyway. It was used to mount something that we didn't use anymore, so that got cut out. So we're making room, but with the way it's set up, it actually should, as this sits, fit, and then we can start officially mounting it to the vehicle. And there you go, just like that. It's on the car with the big boy radiator and fans, and not mounted, mocked up. We still have to go in, and you can see this fan where this is sitting. We have lines drawn. We're gonna cut that stuff down there out, kind of notch it so this can sit in just a little bit deeper, so our radiator cap will fit on, and get this a little bit closer, and then put holes in this frame rail so we're not deadheading this fan, which I believe is our next project. So time for radiator to come out, a little bit more clearancing to do, not completely done yet. So we just got done doing the old race car Swiss cheese method. That's really bright, goodness gracious. But yeah, you can kind of see the race car Swiss cheese method. We cut a slot here to bump the fan motor forward to get us a little bit closer towards the motor, to get us some more space towards the bumper and everything, a little bit of breathing room. Same with this hole right here, just because there's a screw head, give the screw head a place to recess into there. And then Swiss cheese, where this lower fan contacts, you can see we drilled all the way through so airflow can get through this, so we're not just dealing with like a huge wall of just blockage for the airflow. So should have good airflow through here. And the next step now is really just to figure out how we get to mount the radiator. We got to find a way to bolt it to the car. So that's next. Okay, so I didn't film a lot of this process, but we did a ton of stuff. As you can see, we reused some brackets to use for mounting. These brackets were on the other radiator, and we had an aluminum welder weld this stuff on. We didn't do this. We had somebody weld this stuff on. Relocated the bottom hose because we had to do that before. Had a petcock added. Other bracket is on there. Again, all this stuff was welded on by a friend of ours who is a much better aluminum welder. Highly recommend you don't do that stuff on your own. And to mount it to the radiator, all we did was make an aluminum rail, take some rivets, some threaded rivets into the shroud, and then have the rail actually bolt through this lip here on the radiator, and just did that all the way up and down the top, bottom of the radiator. Did it on both sides. So we got that mounted on, and I got the wiring done, which we've already plugged in and tested this, so we know the fans run. And now it is just time to bolt it into the car. It's time to go. Time to mount it, baby. We're almost done. In here is just a final side-by-side to show you the amount. This is what was in the car. This is what's going in the car. It is an absolutely massive upgrade. We shouldn't have any problems. All right, well, it's taken us about a month, but here it is. Final hardware in, radiators bolted into the car. The shroud is on the front. Everything's been cut, clearanced. We got a top hose. All we have left is to make the bottom hose, which is not going to be fun. It's going to have to be at least a 2-piece hose. Trans cooler mounted to the front lip of the radiator here. Got it bolted in. All we got to do is make that bottom hose there, but you can see we got that bolted in. Bumper goes on. We just test fit it. This top valance piece here, this fits on. Everything fits. You can see here I've got, I don't know how well you can see it, got the wiring made. It's just not plugged in. It's just got to get plugged in. After about 5 weeks of doing this, and this is probably the hardest project we've worked on, honestly, on this car. Mounting the motor and transmission was actually easier than getting this thing to fit. I'm not even exaggerating, but it's done. Needs a lower hose, it needs water, and it's time to test it. It's time to take it out and see if it stays cold. So let's get that lower hose made and put some fluid in it. So here is what we crafted for the lower hose. You can see we kind of had to cut this piece back a little bit. Comes out at a 90-degree with a rubber, a single clamp, double clamp, to an aluminum 90-degree piece. This is a like Speedway. We bought this kit off of Speedway to do this with. That 90 comes back up through here and meets back up at the water pump there. So kind of a lot of work to make this go, but it's ready to go. And now we just got to put some fluid in it and see what we got. Let's get it running. Here's the final product. And I think it's time to see if everything works. We tested the fans, tested the water pump, everything runs, everything functions. It's time to fire the car up, see what it does at idle, see if everything seems like it's healthy, and then if it works, it's time to take it on the streets, see if she runs colder. We're gonna be looking at that water gauge right there in the middle. Keep in mind, it does run about 15 to 20 degrees hot. I'm just too lazy to calibrate it, but let's fire it up, see what it does. Got a low pressure. Fuel says 0, ignore that. Turn our fan on, water pump on. Everything's on. Well, we finally got all the work done to it. I'm outside, the weather's decent. Just gonna take it out for a spin and see if it heats on the highway. That's the problem we had before it got hot on the highway, so let's find out. Too bad. A little hotter than we want, but I like it. Well, that's what we got after about a 20-minute, I'd say more like a 30-minute drive. Highway time, all that stuff, we're seeing 165. Again, this gauge is 10 to 15, actually like 15 to 20 hot. So this is probably closer to like 145, 150, somewhere in that range right now is what it's actually at. So we're looking pretty good right now. This is how we know our gauge is off. We verify with our thermal gun here. And this is what we're getting. Well, it's now the next day, and I don't know if you can hear me, but I made a couple changes to the tune in the Sniper that I'll show you when we get to a good stopping point, where I can show you what I did in the Sniper handheld to make this run a little colder. But it really seems to like the changes that I made. We're going the same speed, same road, and it's 20 degrees hotter today, but we're running colder. So I'll show you what I did. It seems to like this. Just got off the highway. We're almost 10 degrees colder. It's looking great. So overall, based on this drive, which is the same drive I did yesterday, on the highway we're about 10 degrees cooler. In the city, you're talking the same 5 to 10 it looked like. I'm gonna show you what I did to make that happen. So if you have a Sniper, go into your Sniper handheld, go to the home screen, go to tuning, basic fuel, target AFR. See this target AFR at cruise? By default, that's set to 14. That's pretty lean. Fatten it up to about 13.5 to 13.0. You'll drop, give or take 10 degrees on whatever you're running at. Now, it's gonna cost you fuel, but you ain't driving no 500 horsepower car for fuel mileage. Let's keep it real here. You guys are probably thinking the video's done, right? The car cools on the highway, we're good. Not quite. We had 2 more things we wanted to do before we called this project done. A couple of upgrades, a couple of changes that we wanted to make. And I'm gonna show you those right now. But just for context as to why this video might end up being terribly long, we started this project February 23rd, okay? Today is April 19th, and I think I'm finally filming the last bits to finish this video. So if you're still watching right now, go to the comment section right now. Tell me what year, make, model your car is, what you have for an engine transmission. Tell me about your car in the comments. I'm curious to see how many people are still watching. But like I said, 2 things left to do that I think we just got finished. So let me show you those right now. You may have noticed in the previous driving footage that we had the headlights up. Well, that was on purpose. You can see here in this bottom corner of this headlight cover, we kind of had to cut some parts out. Well, I don't know if you can see it way down there. That's our slip tube that mounts the front bumper on now that we had to do all that time making. And this plastic piece was hitting it. So we had to do a little bit of clearancing to make the headlights close, but now the headlights close. So there we go. We can now drive with the headlights down, which is nice. The next thing we had to do was this. This is a part that we had inside the car. This is a fan controller. As you can see, it's got a ground, and it's got all your wires, all your inputs, whatever on it that it needs. 10 gauge little power source there. And the problem we were having with this is this operates off of this little sensor right here. What this sensor does is it reads the temperature. You stick this, you can see it used to be stuck. You stick this onto your radiator, and it reads the temperature of the radiator. Well, the problem was we had this set to maintain a temperature of 130 degrees, turned all the way down. This thing we think might have been getting some goofy readings just based on the nature of how the sensor is used. And the fans would keep going up and down and up and down and up and down. And we think the fans never actually truly got to 100% power because this sensor was being a little bit goofy. And I'll show you the evidence for that here in a second, because we changed how we did this, and now these fans are running. The controller was mounted right there, and we took it out and replaced it instead with this. You can kind of see, it's hard to see in here. I've already got it all tucked away. We got a 70 amp fuse right there, and then just a relay that has, 10 volts in, ground, 10 gauge, 12 volts in, ground, 10 gauge, 12 volts to the fan, which we have all wired and finished already. And the reason we did this is because we didn't want the fans to ramp themselves up and down. I figured it'd be better if we could just turn them on and off ourselves, have a bit more control, and keep these fans running at 100% to get this thing super cool, because it's going to be over 100 degrees during Sick Week Summer. This is a kit you can buy from Painless Wiring. Big shout out to Painless Wiring. I use a lot of their stuff. This relay kit is amazing. And like I said, I believe that the old controller never allowed us to truly have 100%. And let me show you why we think that. This little yellow switch is what turns the fans on, right? I'm going to turn it on, and you're going to see about a whole wind tunnel in here. Let's just... Hopefully in the video you can hear the difference. But these fans are officially moving air. I can feel the wind all the way back here from behind the car. I got a piece of paper towel, and look, you can see... Let me put it right in front. That's moving air. It was not moving air that good before. We're moving air now. A lot of air. It's flowing. We just think that it's gonna run a lot better with the fans at 100% all the time, or we can just turn it off and on when we wanna do it and not allow the controller to control the fans. We don't think the fans ever actually hit 100% with the controller on, so there could be a fault in the controller somewhere. So what we're gonna do now is take it for one last drive, headlights down, fans at 100%, see where it's at, and then hopefully we can be done with this project. It's taken us almost 2 months, literally almost 2 months to do this. It's been one of the more difficult and more intricate projects we've worked on this car. But hopefully now we can be done with this. The car's a street car, and it's time to run some freaking 10s. That's what's next. Well, kind of hard to see. It's a bumpy ride. There's a glare, but we're out here on the highway right now. I can't get it over 147 degrees. I think we're looking okay. I think we got this thing figured out. I mean, this is cold. This is cold. I like it. Still 147. Trying to maintain about 50 to 55 miles per hour. I mean, dude. Kind of a cloudy day, but we're just out here cruising, man. No concerns. No concerns, dude. Man, I tell you what, guys, I just love this car. I just freaking love this car. I love driving this car. Kind of loud in here, but I love the Conquest so much, man. I love the Slow Quest. I love this car so much. Sitting at a stoplight right now, and we're ice cold. I'm gonna have to actually manually turn the fans on and off to make sure this thing keeps some heat in it. Well, it's fixed. The Conquest no longer overheats on the highway. After almost 2 months, today is the 20th, it's the next day, I'm recording the last bit of this video. It is completely done. I showed you almost every step beginning to end. It took us almost 2 months to get this done, but the more exciting part is the parts for the next project just came in. I'm gonna start doing that video literally right now. At this exact moment in time, we're gonna start the very next project. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment below. What do you wanna see next? I know what you're gonna see next, and you're gonna like what you're gonna see next for sure. I'm excited, so I know you're probably excited. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell and watch the next video when it comes out and you get the notification. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.